There's a great book that was written recently by Sherry Waddell that I highly recommend to my students and people that I speak to. It's called Forming Intentional Disciples. And in that book, Sherry, in the very first chapter, I think very accurately, very soberly describes a significant decrease in sacramental practice, which has taken place in our country over the last few decades. There's a number of reasons why this crisis has happened. Certainly we could look at liturgical reasons, we could look at cultural reasons, we could also look at catechetical reasons, I think. A catechist can do a lot in this situation to help those that are being taught to be able to enter fully, consciously, actively into liturgical participation. There's two things in particular that I like to emphasize. First of all, the liturgy presumes that we are focused, that we're attentive, that we are ready and prepared to enter into the celebration. But as every one of us knows, it's really easy to walk into a church preoccupied and consumed with whatever it is that's going on in life. The same is true, I think, in catechesis, that most of the time when people come to a parish or a school for catechesis, we're thinking about other things. So the first 5 to 10 minutes of time that we have in the catechetical setting, I think is really crucial. There's an opportunity here to teach people the art of disengagement, of putting oneself in the presence of God. That's required, it's presumed by the liturgy that as soon as we make the sign of the cross at the beginning of a particular sacramental celebration, that we're attuned, that we're ready to participate. So the catechist really has this great opportunity to teach people how to enter in, how to prepare themselves to meet the Lord in the Word, which is going to be communicated through catechesis. So those first 5 to 10 minutes that we spend in prayer, there's a great opportunity to teach them a skill that will translate, I think, very well into their liturgical life. A second skill that liturgy requires is that we are able to unite ourselves to the prayers of the Mass, of the sacrament of confession, that we're able to really enter in and unite ourselves to what God is doing in the sacrament. So how do we learn this ability to unite ourselves to the prayer of the liturgy? We're going to learn that, I think, we're going to come to understand it by having some exposure to the words of the rites before we enter into that prayer. So the catechist, I think, can draw from the words of the rites as a source for catechesis, in addition to scripture, in addition to the catechism, in addition to whatever textbooks or resources might be used. And I think there's a twofold effect then when we do that. We're drawing from sacred words, sacred signs that are presumably in the memories in the imaginations of the students that we're teaching. And so we're drawing something out of them that they're already familiar with. But secondly, and maybe more importantly, what's going to happen the next time they go and receive the sacrament of confession? If we've spent some time perhaps teaching about God's mercy by unpacking for them the prayer of absolution that they receive. So very likely, the more that they come to understand in a catechetical setting the significance of these words, what God is doing by way of these words and signs, the more they're going to be able to genuinely enter in with their hearts.